So, Cassper Nyovest recently got a ruling from the alcohol and beverage community concerning subject matters of his advert or his latest advert, particularly advertising his brand billiato. I think I don't know if it's a champagne or if it's what type of a drink. Now, this particular subject comes in within the light that, Cassper Nyovest recently got born again in the whole nine chairs. He was out giving testimonies, if you guys remember, not long ago in a church, speaking about how the distinction between born again, saved, whatnots, and what he needed, okay, being salvation, came up. Now, this particular ruling goes against the issue of a particular advert that they are pushing or that they recently have posted, particularly very recently. I think there's an article that is out there talking about that. The body has decided that this particular ad, it's a little bit too much. Now, I'm not going to play the advert just in case they just don't want to see it out there completely. So, because some of the things that they say here, personally, I do think that the world needs a triple. But I'm going to take the route of which Prophet Joel Okepe actually went. Early in January, when we had the BBC's documentary on TB Joshua, there's something that he mentioned back there that I think is quite an interesting take, and we're going to talk about that right now. It's the Created Show with the Daily Christian Commentary videos. If it's your first time over here, to be sure to check out some other videos that are down in the pinned comments, and I'm going to check you out over there. We do have a live stream later on in the evening, so if you have questions, y'all come over there. Right. Oh, we recently had a live stream for the discipleship group also as well. Absolutely epic. The number is over there. WhatsApp me and I'll add you to the relevant groups. We might actually stop now because we've gone a little bit too deep, and so we might stop taking more people into that. We're over 300 almost. So let's talk about the subject. Now, as I stated, I want to take the route that Prophet Joel Okepe mentioned early in January about the BBC documentary comment. Now, he wasn't against the subject of the subject matters of right, wrong that was being discussed in that. He just was cautioning the body, particularly about something. Let me get through this story and then I'll get you through that. Okay, so billiato, I think it's a brand that Cassper has been with way before he was born again, and so it's some type of a alcohol, a beverage or something along those lines. And so because of the state in which alcohol abuse is in South Africa, and y'all know it's a big subject down here, like they have entire whole rules around that so that advertisement does not get out of hand. Now, this particular advert, for me, when I looked at it, no different to any other advert. I just want to be very clear. If you go and you look for the advert, if you go and you search the advert for billiato, Cassper Nyovest with Somizi and the other people there, social media influencers basically, it's no different. Now, why do I say that? Like, if you actually just look at many adverts and so forth on alcohol beverages, for example, this particular ad here, it sells the idea that their drink, Johnny Walker drink, it's like a taste of wealth. It's a taste of. So basically, they are trying to sell you on taste. That's it. Okay. So even with this advert that they recently had, I saw exactly just about the same. It's the idea because if you check the article here, right? Check the article. They are saying that very much a party vibe. ARB orders Cassper Nyovest tequila brand. Okay, I guess that's what it is. To pull ad glamorizing drinking. Like I said, if you look at the advert, it's just exactly the same with all the adverts. They're trying to sell you on taste. And they do kind of tell you what exactly it is that they took issues with, okay? So if you look into the article, they say the advertising regulation, there's a lot of advertisements that fall out there. I don't know if they question, but hey, what do I know, right? If you look at it, they say that advertiser, the celebrities' friends such as Somizi and Toss partying in a plane, and basically they're going the route that the Americans were going, which the politicians were trying to go with video games. They were saying that video games were causing people to cause school shootings and stuff. That's the route that they're going here, okay? And so they say they're glamorizing it. Now, it's a particular quotation, basically, that I saw here. They say according to the to advertising terms and of code, particularly for advertising, this particular thing actually flies over their head, and they go to mention some of the things that are said, a taste of wealth, that idea of taste of wealth, because the advert starts by Cassper saying, welcome to a billiato, so wara wara wara, taste of wara 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 wara. So basically, enjoy what. So that's why I'm saying that this when I read this article, it reminded me of this thing that Prophet Joel Okepe mentioned. Now, here on this video, I'm not in any way here to say, y'all go drink, y'all go do what. I think for me, alcohol as a whole, it impairs your capability of being a responsible disciple. So if you do that, please be very careful not to get taken away, right? And so I'm not here to make a point for that. I'm making a point for what Prophet Joel Okepe said. And so this will be a kind of like an appreciation post as well. Joel, in his viewpoint, particularly to the BBC documentary, Joel warned that the church should be very careful, particularly about taking the world's view on how judgment, or who leads on the subject of judgment. That's what he was kind of like warning, to say, we have the Bible. It tells us how to go. It tells us how to live. It gives us the guidelines. And so we need to be very careful, particularly about subject matters that actually take advice from the world on how to judge on matters of right and wrong. Now, in my viewpoint, I think it is important when we have the conversations, right? And so this whole thing of the world, like you saw with the video that I made a day or so ago about Matthias, the guy from Nigeria who was blogging about against false prophets and so forth. And he went completely antichrist, thinking that he conquered Jesus or something like that. That's a perfect example. If we don't have the conversation, because if you look at the Bible does have apologetics. The Bible does have a position on correction of doctrine. On the subject that we were doing yesterday on discipleship, when he says, I know your love. And so that was the subject matter that we kind of went back to say they had abandoned this particular area of being questioning towards subject matters of doctrine. If you read into verse 1 and verse 2, before you get to that particular point where he says, turn therefore to that which you have done before. When he says you have abandoned your first love, is that we have dismissed the position of correcting wrong happening amongst us. As a result, the world takes that on. And what happens is that the world becomes the standard, or they impose their standard of how to make a judgment on right and wrong. And it creates all kinds of problems. Now, what do you see in this judgment whole thing? I thought this was a perfect example because if you think about John chapter number 7, this is what John chapter number 7 says, verse number 23 up until 24. This falls right in line with that subject. And it says, and if a boy can be circumcised on the Sabbath, so that the law of Moses will not be broken, why are he angry with me for making the whole man well on the Sabbath, basically. Stop judging by outward appearance, right? He says. So stop judging by outward appearance and start judging justly. You see the subject matter of just judgment. It's not saying don't judge. You know, there's context around don't judge, but the context is righteous judgment. Even in Matthew chapter number 7 that people like to use, he's speaking about right judgment. He says, first take out the beam. So why would he say first? It means that there is the second action, right? Being that you can now make a right judgment to the one who has a mute in his eye. So it's the same here. I see exactly, that's why I'm quoting what Prophet Joel said in that video when he was talking about warning on the BBC thing, is that it's not that they are wrong, but we must be careful taking the world's viewpoint on making a judgment on right and wrong. Because you can see how faulty their ideas is. When you're listening to this entire judgment, that because they said, people who advertise for alcohol, they are selling you on the taste of it. And so it's very clear the language is fitting right within that whole thing. But they said, now y'all gotta pull that advert, right? Y'all gotta pull that advert. And so we're not making a case for them and their alcohol here. But I thought it was a perfect example for how the world judges wrong. Doesn't have like a baseline understanding, because if Cassper is wrong, then we better go on, tell everybody else, call him Black Label. Yeah, they say, yeah, a taste of refreshment. Yeah. There it is. Glamorizing. Okay? Because they put, is it because they put wealth on on thinking? So there they are epitomizing the subject, or they are enthroned the idea of they are selling people on taste, which is what advertisers do all across the board. But here you see something that goes back into that thought. The world does not have a rule book by which they can make righteous judgment. They might have rules which they will skip on for other people, and then they will apply it whenever it feels right for them. I think right now the world is just kind of like waking up to what's happening on social media and stuff like that. Whether it be for my finance, because I saw recently the FC, is it FCA or whatnot? The Organization for Financial Regulations. They also put out a thing for to heavily regulate social media advertising from the guys who give advice, financial advice. They're kind of like lengthening their investigations towards that, and they are threatening to come very hard at people at that, right? So you'll see something within that John chapter number 7, giving righteous judgment. If this is the rule, not to glamorize the selling taste and whatnot and all that kind of stuff, which is that's what that advert is. Just directly everything that all other adverts are. When does it apply? Does it apply only when it's them, or does it apply when it's thinking? Now, I know a lot of people make it about, oh yeah, black, white, black. It's nothing to do with that, okay? Has nothing to do with that. Personally, it's right. It's a subject matter of righteous judgment. The world is not capable of giving righteous judgment, because they do not have a rule book for which they can conduct such a judgment. Okay, it's unreliable. The very same people that will be pushing for all this reckless life and party lifestyle, they're the very same people that they will then be shocked when a person living that reckless life goes cheating, doing whatnot, dishonoring their spouse and all those kind of things. They'll be very disgusted. They will want them to resign. They will want them to apologize. Then they will want. They are not just in their giving of judgment. They have a very twisted way of how they handle subject matters of judgment, because it's never just a one rule. It's kind of like YouTube sometimes. You know? Yeah, this video might be age restricted because I'm talking about alcohol. Bearing in mind that the very when you actually select and upload for a video, you tell them this video is not meant for kids, and so the people that are here are able to make a discerning decision to say this is adult content. This is content that is meant for people that are over the age of 18. Clear? Okay? And so content that is made for kids, no comments, whatnot, it's not supposed to be thingy, and so forth. But then they can each restrict any video. You go and you appeal the video, it'll be just a whole thing. Why? Because they don't make righteous judgment, which is exactly what Prophet Joe was actually saying. He was saying, be very careful of taking the world standard. And you can see why. Because the world standard falls on its face. The world standard falls on its face, being that whenever it hands out a judgment, the judgment is just like, wait a minute, have you seen other adverts? When they do exactly the same, like the idea that I just showed with Johnny Walker right there. Right? They sell the idea of the lifestyle, okay? Because remember, when they're advertising, they're thinking about what kind of a person is drinking. It's a person who's either in celebratory mode or whatnot and stuff like that. And so, for them to say, welcome to billiato, a taste of what, a taste of wealth, that's just that's why I'm saying the world has no consistency in how it judges matters. It's not consistent. The very same people that will be telling young people, go out there, do whatever. And they don't think about the consequences of what happens when you tell people to go out and do whatever. Then they want to be shocked when the person comes back, they have a side cheek, they have a what. It's because you told them to go and do whatever. In do whatever, the person is going to pick up all kinds of nonsense out there. Why? Because they are not consistent in their judgment. They're not consistent. The very same people that will be telling people, that be telling people, oh, no, just date anyhow. Oh, yeah, multiple date shows, all these date shows with a person dating this one. They'll have shows that portray that wretched lifestyle. And then the very same people want to tell those people, no, you're doing too much. You gave them the license for that. This is what shows you why the world cannot handle righteous judgment, or they are not capable of it. It's because they have this skewed perspective. It's same thing. I don't remember seeing an advert that didn't glamorize drinking. I haven't seen it. Have you seen how much of water advertisement do you see? How much of water? They just put some advert there, it's refreshing, it's whatnot. It's because they're all selling taste, all of them. But hey, you cannot tell the world. Why? Because that's them. That's how this system gets handed over to Antichrist, is that it's these inconsistencies of how to make it's just because the world is exhausting, to say the least. It's a reality show. Tell me what you think on this particular subject. I just think this is quite an example of why the world's judgment on anything is just completely inconsistent. It's completely incoherent. You listen to them here, you're like, but wait, have you seen the other adverts? Have you seen the other adverts? Because they are selling taste, or you don't want them to sell taste. Or we're stopping everybody from selling taste. The idea of taste of wealth, it's just selling taste. We're not making an argument for them, but it's just about the same. But it shows you why the world is not consistent, and why the world is not reliable on taking on subject matters of what judgment they give. Y'all tell me what you think down in the comment section, and I think John chapter number 7 gives a very clear point on how to see this particular thing. And yeah, Joel had the right point. Okay, they're not going to be consistent. When you take the world's view of judgment, the world is not going to be consistent on how it applies judgment.